There we go.
Got it.
Hopefully. Directing to the live streaming page.
All right.
Hey.
Now we got Inception.
We do have Inception. Well, now we're looking at Zoom.
I see myself twice.
Yeah, this is no good. I don't need this video. All right. We want us. Maybe we need to just stop the share for right now. Custom live streaming service.
Wait.
Screen is up. We're way behind.
Yep.
We've got that YouTube lag. Hey, there we are. Welcome to Audible Interlude, a G.I. Joe podcast. I am your host, Dave West, codename Phantom Troublemaker.
I am your co-host, Noel Wood, codename Crapshoot.
And I'm the Cobra intern that accidentally swapped in Lego minifigure DNA into Serpentor's DNA pool. Codename Legion Cub.
What does that even mean?
It means he's just tiny now. Oh, no, never mind. He blends into my green
He's
screen.
blending into the background. Okay, so we are here live, obviously. There's a little bit of lag on YouTube. We're looking at the comments. Look at that, Golden Cub. What's going on, buddy? Nice to see you here. So I'm gonna do my best to show pictures of what happened at the panel today. Once we get to that, we are still kind of learning this live streaming thing and the way that Zoom interacts with YouTube, as well as the way that we interact with each other and with all of you. Because really, isn't live streaming the friends we made along the way or something?
Something like that.
We have kind of a normal news show with the addition of the PulseCon events. And I will point out right now, you see the snazzy new shirt I've got on. This is the AI Pod, a G.I. Joe podcast shirt designed by our good friend Oz. You can get that in the Needless Things TeePublic store. Now, don't you go Googling looking for that. We will be sharing links on Instagram at Audible Interlude Podcast because, we all know how these algorithms work. Little guys like us do not get any help with visibility. So,
truthfully, we don't know how these algorithms work, which is the problem.
No, that is the whole problem. We don't know how they work. But yeah, we'll be sharing links so you can buy your very own AI Pod t-shirt, or there's a brand new Needless Things spooky season t-shirt up right now. And I think everything's $14. $14. You can get yourself a t-shirt. Won't that be nice for all of us?
Well, that's about half of what other places are charging for t-shirts.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about
deal.
We're going to be talking about some t-shirts in a little bit here. You can find us on Twitter at G.I. Joe Audible, but quite frankly, it's just reposted things from everywhere else. I'm not good at Twitter at all.
Is anyone?
Well, no. Most people are awful to an extreme on Twitter. Let's see. Yes, Phantom does have a serious collection in the background. It's a problem. So we've got a little bit of follow-up from not our last episode, the one before that, when we talked about the top 5 Joes. We each kind of went through and just thought, varying reasons why, but we got some input from some of our listeners. Our pal Channing Sherman chose Alpine because it's the first Joe he remembers owning. Flint, Lady J, Lowlight, and Shipwreck. Solid top 5. And then
top 5.
Rocket Bunny Hatch on Instagram, more about the toys. And they list Hit and Run, Stalker version 2, Storm Shadow version 2, Muskrat, Lifeline, and they say that team and Lift Ticket in the Tomahawk were his go-to for busting up Cobras.
Nice.
That's
and I like the
little variation there. I like it.
Yeah, I like the addition of the deployment. Like, which vehicle were you sending them out in? Everybody knows I'm sending everybody out in the Whale, regardless of where it is. But I do like that little addition of these are your Joes, but how do they get to the battle? because getting to the battle is half the battle. But it's tough to pick just 5 in some of the messages that we got on Instagram. And thinking about it and the selections that people made, like I could literally anybody from 84 to 87 are almost on equal footing to me. Like they're all great.
Yeah.
So here's something I wanted to talk about on the side. We've had a lot of Hasbro activity. Obviously, we're going to focus on the PulseCon G.I. Joe reveals in a little bit here. That's going to be the bulk of our stream and our show. But last week, something else was announced, and that is the new starting lineup action figures. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on those because they're obviously barely G.I. Joe adjacent. It was interesting to note the $50 price point that people went absolutely bonkers over, because people go absolutely bonkers over literally anything that is said about toys. But that price point is due to all the licensing. You have likenesses, you have sports teams, you have Nike, you have Under Armour, you have because all of that gear has the logos on it. But here was my question for you guys. How interested would you be in starting lineup G.I. Joe crossovers that featured like Fridge, Big Lob, Hardball? And what if they got, obviously William Refrigerator Perry would be himself, but what if they had like LeBron James as Big Lob, or some baseball person as Hardball? And they did
Some baseball person.
I don't know who
I think that's where I stand with it. I mean, I would be like, no, it's Big Lob. I don't know who this person is that's supposed to be Big Lob.
Michael Jordan played baseball, right?
Yes, he did briefly. Yes.
Jose Canseco.
Don Mattingly did play baseball a long time ago.
Jose Canseco. That's a baseball guy. And I know that thanks to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
Is this a Jose Canseco bat? Tell me you didn't pay money for this thing. But anyway, what do you guys think of that? If they wanted to do, because it would be good for both brands. It would bring the sports people's attention to G.I. Joe. It would get starting lineup, G.I. Joe customers looking at starting lineup. Do it, like the Fortnite crossover.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea for business. I don't think that you're gonna market it as kind of a niche product anyway. You wouldn't have to put out hundreds of thousands of units of these things, but I think if you put out some, it would probably draw a lot of attention from both sides.
I think if you want to see G.I. Joe fans' heads explode, give them a G.I. Joe figure that is $50.
If you want to see G.I. Joe fans' heads explode, you make an announcement about G.I. Joe.
That's
like literally anything that is said, some heads somewhere are going to be exploding, which is why I think they kind of played it safe today, but we'll get to that. So yeah, starting lineup is going to be interesting to follow because they started with NBA. I'm curious to see, even though I'm not, as everyone might be able to tell, not a sports guy at all. But I will be following this because I'm a toy guy and I'm interested to see what this intersection may be. And I think, sports fans perhaps are used to paying more for their collectibles. I think if, we're used to paying whatever we pay for toys, $10 to $15 to $20, now to $25, sports fans pay, $2,000 for a jersey. So I think there's a different level of expectation there, and I'm curious to see what Hasbro does with this brand, even though I care not a bit about it. But I do care about toys. Did you guys check into the Target Fall Geek Out on September 23rd?
I mean, I saw it. There wasn't a lot of G.I. Joe worthy news there.
No, wasn't it pretty much like, hey, we still have barbecue and heavy duty available for sale?
Barbecue and Roadblock to be newsworthy? Really? Wow, that's shocking. Yeah, that was a big drop of nothing. Beforehand we were kind of hoping like, oh, maybe they'll start shipping the things that we pre-ordered almost a year ago. Maybe something will happen, and it was nothing. But in my personal opinion, Hasbro more than made up for it with those Dungeons and Dragons figures.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Holy cow. But that's more needless things territory. So we will continue on to our next little bit of news, which is just a funny little thought I had. If Hasbro, people are confused about what's going on with Outback and the Python Patrol figures. What is it? Target's fault? Is it Hasbro's fault? Is it shipping's fault? What's going on? It's taken a very, very long time to get to market. I think it's very clear, though, that Hasbro is not in any way at fault, because if they'd had any idea these figures wouldn't be coming out till now, they would have charged $24.99 for them.
Good point.
There's no way they would have been. I think they were $22.99. They didn't come in at the $19.99. I think they were $22.99 at the start. But yeah, they would have gotten their full money for those things if they'd known they were coming out after the big price hike. So we can't be too mad at old Hasbro. Started seeing some things at Target. How have you guys physical in the wild toy hunts been?
Actually, so when I went to the local Walmart for my last bit of hurricane emergency supplies, which of course should involve toys, because that's how I am, there was actually 2 Crocmasters on the shelf.
Yeah, I saw my first Crocmaster in the wild a couple weeks ago at a Walmart in Decatur. I was like, oh, look, I'd be really excited if I didn't finally get this in the mail.
Well, and I've seen Crocmasters at several Walmarts now. And for the first time, I found Spirit, Storm Shadow, and a Cobra Officer at a Target. Kind of the main Target that seems to get stuff for me, because I've got 5 Targets total in my kind of routine that I can hit. And that one seems to, I don't know if it's that they get stuff more or that I just have better luck getting there before scalpers and Joe fans or whatever.
Well, the Target by my house, they're still restocking the reaction figures in the, like, they moved them, to like the main toy aisle. There is not a peg for classified at all. There is only reaction.
Every Target around here still has like movie Baroness, like at least a couple of them sitting there.
Yeah.
And there's some that still have. Well, Walmart still has Flint and Lady J.
Yeah, and I've seen Lady J at Target as well very recently. And I don't go to Target as often as I used to, just because there's not anything I'm really hunting there at this point.
Right.
But
it's almost
when
pointless.
I have gone, it's been, I saw those 2 spirits, which I talked about. It was when I went to Joe Lanta.
Right.
But that's the only ones that I've seen there.
So, and speaking of Lady J, I have found the retro Lady J at 2 different Walmarts. So those are showing up. Oh, and I found, you know what? I take that back. I found retro Lady J at 3 different Walmarts, and one of them had Baroness as well. So those are showing up, but it's interesting that they're showing up in the same order that they were available. Because if you remember, Baroness and Lady J were the first ones you could pre-order. Then you were able to pre-order Gung Ho and Destro. And I have not seen them show up yet. So stuff is starting to hit. I went to a Target Friday that had, if you're following Needless Things channel on Instagram, I'll put up stuff that I find in stores when it's new stuff. And a few years ago, this was interesting to me. I would have spent a couple $100 just buying stuff that I thought was cool, that I was like, oh, I'd just like to have this. And I don't do it anymore because everything is so expensive now. And there's so much now. Like, you could spend a fortune just collecting the G.I. Joe lines, like the various lines. It's very, very different from how it was just a few years ago.
Yeah, there's a little story I'll tell about that later on.
Okay, we'll save that. Save that. This I'm bringing up. It's not specific to us at all, but I feel like it is something we need to mention. Classified is now exclusive to Hasbro Pulse for the United Kingdom and the European Union. We don't know why. There's speculation that those smaller retailers that were sending out Target exclusives to America before Target got them could have had something to do with it. And on the one hand, I think, 10, 20, 30 people getting those in America is not going to, have Hasbro and Target scrambling to make changes. However, the exclusivity of retailer exclusive figures is clearly very important. It has been pointed out time and time again how critical it is for these retailers to have exclusives in order to keep these lines going. And while Target may not be like, oh, we lost those sales to an importer or to an exporter or whatever, foreign business, that's not what they care about. This may be something kind of like copyright law, where if you don't enforce it, you lose it. Like, it's not that Target really cares that much that these people imported their exclusives. It's that if they don't do something about it, then there's a problem contractually somewhere. Because, a lot of times, like with Disney, people go really hard on Disney for defending their copyrights. But if they don't, then people can take advantage of their IP. And I wonder if this is kind of a similar situation where Target really doesn't care, but they have to do something. They have to go to Hasbro.
A lot of sense, because think about, I unfortunately don't remember the YouTuber's name, but there was a YouTube toy channel. He legally purchased Jurassic Dominion figures that hit a web retailer, and Hasbro got his channel completely shut down.
Yeah, that's right.
So that I had not heard this theory until you just said it, but as soon as you did, that's what clicked in my head. That makes a lot of sense.
We've got a couple. Matthew Comstock has joined us. What up, guys? What's up, Matthew? Thanks for dropping in. And Craig Dukas, Kung Fu grip on the EU. You're not wrong.
And we'll keep an eagle eye watch on it.
And for everybody that's watching live on YouTube, there is a lag, so your comments are coming like off time. But I'm keeping an eye on it. We'll get to them when you make them. So PulseCon announcement. Previous to PulseCon, this is just a little thing that drove me a little nuts. There's a big press release about everything that was going on at PulseCon, all of the different panels that were going to be happening, the guests, everything else. And this was the blurb about G.I. Joe. It's time again. Join the G.I. Joe team with a new series of top secret, exciting reveals from the Classified series. After that, get to know even more with an exclusive interview from legendary Real American Hero creator Larry Hama. Let's go, Joe. If only there were some sort of catchphrase that had been introduced at some point in the history of the franchise that they could have signed off with. Let's go, Joe. Maybe there's something better that could have been used. I don't know. It drives me crazy. This is
why
Hasbro.
Some of us stay interns. This don't ever get hired.
This is where the heads explode.
Yes.
I mean, my gosh, it's Hasbro. They own the brand. They should know. Yo, Joe, come on. It's
been 40 years.
Joe? It's been a minute. All right. Anyway, I had to get that off my chest. But we got a couple more things before we get to the actual PulseCon news. Toy Galaxy, which is one of my favorite YouTube channels. I look at them almost as just like a broadcast television entity. Like everything they do is so professional.
I wait and watch their videos on my big, 55-inch television.
Yes. Yeah, I make I've never watched one of his videos on my phone. Like, I want to sit down and watch it on the TV. He recently posted a look back at G.I. Joe the movie, the sad story of G.I. Joe the movie, and it's a great look back. We've talked a lot about G.I. Joe the movie over the past months here. It's obviously it's an anniversary year for it, and it's a great video. I recommend everybody check it out as soon as you're done here. go over to Toy Galaxy and check out that G.I. Joe the movie video. It's very good. Got a few little tidbits that I had not heard before. Lots of good insight there.
Yeah. Any touched upon what we've been talking about with the history and talking about the animated commercials for the comics and all that at the beginning of it too. So we actually was showing clips in that video from the same thing that we were just talking about on our episode, our recent episode.
Golden Cub. I'm going to start using this when we're talking about He-Man. Golden Cub said, or I'm sorry, Star Wars. May the power be with you. That's the sign off for that's Hasbro's sign off for Star Wars now. Sorry, I see power and I immediately think of He-Man. Matthew Comstock, my favorite part of PulseCon was Cleo and DJ Amen constantly mispronouncing Serpentor.
Oh my gosh.
You're not wrong. But
that was bad.
But they did say Yo Joe.
Yeah.
It's something. And Craig Dukas, you mean those commercials they show aren't real paid commercial breaks? Okay, so one last thing before we move on. This occurred to me the other day when I was in Walmart, because seeing those retro carded Lady J's on a peg are different from getting them in the mail, because you're seeing them in their natural environment, for lack of a better word, and the surroundings in which they are meant to be seen. And I saw that card back hanging on the peg, and I thought, you know what? Imagine being one of those casual collectors that we hear about, or like the mom or the uncle that toy companies are always telling us that they make figures for. So imagine being somebody that's not us, who's constantly following every scrap of toy news that comes out. And a few months ago, you're in Walmart and you see the retro lady, the 3.75 retro Lady J, and whatever else was out. Stalker, the Cobra Trooper, like whatever,
Grunt,
you see those.
Yeah.
A few months ago, you see those. You see nothing for several months, and then all of a sudden you see the same thing but giant. Like, wouldn't that be weird? Because looking at it, like, I realized that I was like, this is literally just a bigger version of a little thing that came out like last year or whenever. And if I didn't know about this stuff, I would find it very odd. This is the same little thing. It's just bigger now. This is so strange. Just a amusing thought that I had looking at this thing and thinking about the insanity of staying up on toys and collectibles and always knowing what's coming out like a year in advance.
There's just a Walmart employee that walks around with PIM particles. And it's like, you're big now. You're big now. You're tiny.
It was like when you walked into Target and they were selling those like 3-foot tall stormtroopers for like the Force Awakens a few years back.
Oh yeah, the Jax Big Figs. Those are great. I love that. And you know what? My question about those, we'll get a little off topic here because we're live streaming and we're having fun, having some pumpkin cider. So with those Big Figs, why didn't Jax ever go after Marvel and just do like a 3-foot tall giant man for the MCU? Why would you not do that?
That's a good question.
Or even a comic book version. Like, I was always waiting for that, because take advantage of that format. So it doesn't have the same articulation as like a Marvel Legends figure, but the Marvel Legends, like, Build-A-Figure of the giant size figures are like 1.5 inches taller than the regular ones. That doesn't cut it. I would rather have one with limited articulation. And same thing we've talked about before, if they were going to do like the big Cobra robots or something. Like, just give it 5 points of articulation. Who cares? And make it a big hollow piece of plastic. But, give us that size. Like, I want that big bulk. I don't need these $300 HasLabs with 78 points of articulation. Give me just a big slab of figure that, size-wise in my display looks right. I'd be fine with that. I wish somebody would step back into that category and do that stuff. All right. Well, nobody is, so I guess we're going to have to talk about G.I. Joe news. You guys, the selfie series. Now, neither of you are as self-centered and vain as I am. So my guess is that
I don't know. I wouldn't say that. I would say for G.I. Joe, our choices were limited.
That's a fact. But I went into this because I did it. So the Friday, you get the, if you have the, which by the way, we've said this many times, but I'm going to say it again now for the listeners and for the people watching on YouTube. Have the Pulse app, have the notifications turned on, and you'll never miss anything. That's just, well, and be a premium member, which I realize is kind of a touchy subject for some people, but for me, it's been worth it because I've saved more than I've ever spent on a membership on shipping. That free shipping pays for itself within a couple of months for me, typically. But getting in, that hour ahead of time, I noticed, we'll go ahead and talk about Serpentor. We'll go ahead and talk about Serpentor a little bit. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you choke. Serpentor, I got up really early this morning, went and did my walk, ran to a couple of stores. And so by the time PulseCon was done, old Dave was ready for a little nap. So I put a movie on, kind of relaxed in my chair and nodded off and woke up at like 5:16 and was panicked. I was like, no, tell me I didn't miss it, because I thought it was entirely possible, because with Joe figures, for the most part, people we're all pretty enthusiastic, but Serpentor seemed to be almost unanimously popular. Like, even people who don't really like the character were like, man, that figure looks great. And I feel like more people wanted it than didn't. So
Yeah.
I was very concerned, but I got on the Pulse app, ordered it, no problem at all. But if you got that Pulse app, you get your notifications turned on. As soon as that stuff happens, you get the notification. And Friday, I got the update your Pulse app now. Selfie series is available. So I updated, started trying to scan my face. It's a little hard to hold it in the right spot, but I got it done. And it took a bunch of tries. I probably had to do it a dozen times. I did it sitting here at the desk. I went and stood directly under one of the lights down here. I went up into the kitchen. I went outside, and nothing was working. So I think maybe the system was a little glitchy for a while. And then finally, just sitting down here in one of the, how sometimes when you stop caring is when the thing starts working. I was like, I don't even care at this point. And I opened it up to, I was showing it to my son. I was like, check this out. Here's how it works. And then it worked. And I was like, oh no, because I was making a really dumb face which sometimes I don't have a choice about that. But I happened to be doing like one of those. And I was like, oh, it's working now. So I probably 2 more tries. I got a picture I was happy with. They don't have quite my beard, but I got close enough. And I ordered it. And my plan here, Kristian, you mentioned very limited selection, but not really, because you get that Snake Eyes body, pop that head off and put the head on whatever you want.
True, but then what am I going to do with another Snake Eyes body?
You're going to put the Snake Eyes head that came with the Master of Disguise Zartan on the Snake Eyes body.
Blink.
Because look, we're not paying $60 for yet another Snake Eyes body. Nobody cares about that.
Yeah,
you're paying it for.
I'm hoping this is popular enough. They branch it out and give us just generic green uniform body, or Steel Brigade. I mean, it was already there, folks.
Steel Brigade would have been the big win, because that way it could come. Well, one, it could come with the helmet and the selfie scan head. Minimal accessories. Who cares? Give it the
Sunbow, gun.
Give it the Sunbow laser rifle. I don't care.
The regular laser.
But then also release the Steel Brigade as a Pulse troop builder that comes just like the Marvel stuff in the little white cardboard box or whatever, and maybe has a few more accessories in the helmet. But it's easy for us as G.I. Joe fans who are very educated in the lore of G.I. Joe to see things like this and think, oh, this is a fantastic decision. But we are not as much as we think we get how toys work, we are not educated in toy marketing. We have never launched a toy line. We have never dealt with big corporate desires involved in launching a toy line. So I can believe that putting that head on the body of what they perceive to be the most popular G.I. Joe character who has no skin showing is the best call.
I can understand that, but then I also have to, I don't know, just the way my mind works, I can see these people in a boardroom going, kids love Snake Eyes. Well, how many parents are dropping $60 on a selfie figure for their kid?
You know what?
These are for collectors on them.
I don't know, man, because, well, okay, first of all, I made this little joke yesterday, and I guess I'll say it again now. I just wanted to make sure I got mine in before they ran out of Caucasian white guy colored plastic. Because 40-year-old white guy, they're going to run out of that plastic real fast. So I wanted to get that order in. But over the past, probably 20 years, are you guys aware that there is a massive market for licensed books where you send in a picture of your kid and their name, and they put your kid in this book?
I still have my X-Men comic that did that.
Okay, so that's a huge thing. This is the next logical step to it. Now, I'm not trying to say there are a bunch of little kids out there who really care about G.I. Joe, but there certainly are a lot of little kids who care about Ghostbusters, who care about Star Wars, who care about Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Like, this is...
But at least with Ghostbusters, that is a generic coverall uniform.
Okay, wait. We've got to catch up with some comments here because we've got some good stuff. Okay. Oh man, I've missed a few. I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, the lag is throwing things off. Oh, there we go. Matthew Comstock. The app notifications are what allowed me to snag a Mindbender. Yeah, absolutely. I want to be, this is Matthew Comstock again. I want to be Flynn or Falcon. I'm closest to them in appearance. And that's my plan is I'm just looking at it. I paid $60 for my head and I'm going to put it on a different figure. I might be Beachhead. I might do a Cobra Trooper. I don't know. And there will be potentially an issue with compatibility. I'm going to have to find a body that the head will fit on because as we know, the neck pegs are not universal throughout the Joe line, but I'm sure I'll be able to figure something out. That was the scariest
Needless Things review ever, by the way. I don't know if I told you that.
Which one?
Your Crocmaster. When you popped his head off, I legit thought he was going to crack with the way that you were going on. It is the first Needless Things review that gave me anxiety.
Oh, then you clearly didn't see the one. There was one where, it was a NECA figure. I don't remember what it was.
I just expect that with NECA figures.
Well, yeah, that's true. Very, very, very gently. Oh, it was, okay, so they put out the Fiend, the Misfits mascot.
Mm-hmm.
They put out a Christmas Fiend figure, and it comes with two different heads, and ever so gently, just trying to swap the heads, and that you can hear it in the video, the crack of the neck peg. And I was like, oh, there's that. I got another one. It's fine. Okay, back to the comments. Golden Cub had heard that Hasbro was raising the selfie series price to $80. I think we all heard that last week at some point, and it turned out to not be true. And when I heard it, I bought it because I was like, here's what happened, you guys, is there was a leak about the selfie series with the price, and Hasbro was like, well, let's see what these nerds think about $60 for it. And most people were like, oh, $60 seems pretty reasonable. And Hasbro was like, well, it looks like they're going to be $80 then. But that's not what happened. They're $60 still. Do they have Cobra Troopers as an option? I haven't looked because common sense. It would make a lot of sense. As Kristian said, green shirts or Cobra Troopers would make a lot of sense. But I understand from Hasbro's perspective, when they launch this thing, they want what they perceive to be as the main character available. And my plan, like I said, I'm getting that head and I'm going to put it on Beachhead or a Cobra Trooper or whatever on some other body. Put it at barbecue. I don't know. Oh, now I kind of halfway want to buy that Marauder barbecue just to put my head on it.
You mean Mad Marauder barbecue?
Yeah. Anything Joe's? Thanks for dropping in. Anything Joe's? A kid's head on Snake Eye's body would look like he's trying to sneak into an R-rated movie. So it should it should come with a trench coat, so it can be like two kids standing on
like
each other's
BoJack
shoulders.
Horseman.
And Matthew Comstock, Kristian, it is a harrowing review, but don't lose your head over it. And also, Kristian, your background is on point.
Oh, thank you.
Indeed. Okay, we're caught up on comments for now. When the next 30 roll in, I'll get back to them. Okay, we're gonna talk now. So Friday, apparently they revealed a couple of names because they've been, we know what they've been doing lately. They do some pipeline names, they do some grayscale renders, they do some colored renders, and then they showed pre-order figures. So they dropped some pipeline names on Friday of General Hawk and Tripwire.
Never mentioned them today.
No,
didn't mention them at all today, which you'd think they would have at least thrown them in when they talked about the names that they did drop today, but not a mention of them at all. Very strange.
I think it's plausible deniability. They're going to be like, we never said that.
If it didn't come from the Joe team, it's not official. And I don't know how much of the rest of PulseCon you guys watched. I watched a few other things here and there, and it seemed overall to be somewhat disorganized to me. I feel like they had challenges this year that they didn't really have last year, and I don't know if it's because some of it was live, some of it was pre-recorded. I don't know.
I wasn't able to watch it last year. Now, because of, a little weather situation down here in Florida, I did not get to see any of it yesterday. However, when one of the gentlemen that spoke for the Transformers panel, he did mention on his social medias, it was harder than he thought. It was like one of his first times going like live. So the fumbling over words and saying the wrong things, like after the fact, he was like, oh man, it's just nerves get the best of you. So
and I think
I can cut them some slack.
I think last year it was all pre-recorded. And I think this year, well, I don't know, it might have all been live because I watched the Indiana Jones panel into the Star Wars panel, and some of the same people were on that, and they made a comment about having to switch their shirts, and I was trying to figure out if they actually did that or if one of them was pre-recorded. So I don't know. I couldn't tell for sure. But anyway, whatever the case, it is a gargantuan undertaking for them to present all of these things, and I do appreciate that Hasbro does it because they don't have to. And I enjoy the entertainment aspects that they try and weave in. I know a lot of people out there would just like them to put a list of figures up on the screen for 20 seconds and then that's it. But I appreciate them trying to make an event of it and to get attention and to make it seem like something special. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So General Hawk and Tripwire. Tripwire, kind of a surprise name. Hawk, on the other hand, not a surprise at all. How do you guys feel about Hawk's placement? Should he have come earlier? How critical is he to G.I. Joe as a brand overall?
I would have liked to have had, and we're talking 86 General Hawk, which I presume is what they're going to wind up going with to start off. I would have liked to have had him in an earlier way.
We want 1991 Rocket Pack Hawk.
Yes.
The bubble helmet. That's what I want.
But so that's one that I would have liked to have had earlier. It is kind of puzzling that we haven't gotten that character. We got a Duke early on, but it wasn't anything like, what we expected. We still haven't gotten like a proper Duke that really is a throwback to the 80s toy. So there's a couple in there that are surprising like that.
For me, Hawk is a weird one. I never had the MMS when I was a kid, and didn't know until after 86 that Hawk had even been in the line before. At that point, I had read the comics, but I didn't relate that comic Hawk to that generic blonde guy that came with a toy that I didn't own. I thought he was just something from the comic. Like the character really didn't have any significance to me until that 86 version came out. And that is an awesome figure who I felt like, man, this guy, like, he looks like the guy in command of G.I. Joe. He has a strong look, a strong presence, and I guess he just needed to dye his hair to attain all of that.
There's a lot of hair dyeing going on in the world of G.I. Joe. I've never understood that.
Yeah, well, that it's Duke and Hawk like had to switch hair affiliations for some reason.
Well, you also had like Lowlight changing his hair. Outback went all gray. There's a bunch of them that changed.
Noel, I've got some bad news for you. We all go all gray at some point. it happens.
You guys
pal.
think they did it willingly? Shipwreck just gets them drunk and messes around.
We've got some input here. Craig Dukas, I'd rather have Flash first. He'll save every one of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am with you.
Not only do I want Flash, I want the Flash twins.
Two Flash.
Yes, that's what we need. And if you don't get that, then please do check in our last episode and you'll get it. Okay. No, Tommy Throwback has a no. I don't know what that's in reference to because we were probably talking about it 2 minutes ago. Okay. So, and then Tripwire, just cool. He's going to look cool.
I was more excited over Tripwire than Hawk. Yeah. Tripwire came with mines, the little metal detector. As a kid, both of my parents were kind of into the whole going to the beach when we vacation, with their metal detector. And also, much like me, he is incredibly clumsy on the ground. So, yep, that was a figure that I was excited for.
Yeah, that's one that I always loved. It was one that got a lot of play when I was a kid because he had the little mines that strapped into his backpack, and and so he didn't come with a gun, but he was very important out there, making sure that the field was clear before the Joes went into battle. So I'm excited. I hope they finally do one where the helmet comes off, because I think that you can do a pretty good job with that. I think the helmet's already large enough to where you could have a reasonable removable helmet and still have a good head sculpt on that one.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
To like a 5-year-old kid who just saw Tron and doesn't quite understand how mines work, those discs were really awesome for him to throw.
Yes.
That's right.
Another good reason why they did a Tripwire is that you've got an instant repaint one. You can do your listen and fun one later on as an exclusive somewhere.
That is all I want. I think we start with listening fun out of the gate. My glasses are going insane tonight. I don't know what is happening with my face.
Can we not call him Tripwire then? Because the more you say that, I like it. This is codenamed Listen and Fun.
I think Listen and Fun.
You have to guess what his specialty is.
Listen and Fun is some kind of espionage agent, perhaps. Okay, so now we get to the panel proper. They drop some names, and very, very exciting. All three of these are huge to me. Snow Serpents.
Yep.
I mean, one of the top designs that when you think of that figure, you just salivate over what they're going to be able to do with it in classified.
Yeah. Because those, I mean, you can have those accessories that bulk him out a lot, and they'll look really, really good on a figure at this scale.
And they are establishing now a pattern of environmental troops complementing each other, because we know Snow Job is coming, and now they've said yes, Snow Serpents as well. I think that's a good thing. Buzzer.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that complement other things, we know Ripper is on the way, and his pal Buzzer is not far behind. Well, I don't want to say not far behind, because who knows when these are going to be coming out, because I believe previous to now, what we've heard name-wise was the 2023 lineup. They did not give any dates for these names. They just said, these are some names that are coming to the line someday. But it is good that they did drop some things, because this is all we got as far as reveals were these names. And then finally, female Cobra Troopers.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
My hope is that we can get not just females, but also get some different skin tones. Again, you know, we've talked about this time and again on the show, but troop builders from Pulse would be fantastic. And I realize they're not going to be $15 like the Marvel ones have been. We're probably going to be looking at $20 troop builders if they go that route. But I'd really, really like to see green shirts, Steel Brigade, Cobra Troopers, you know, whatever, put them up there. I realize we're not going to get bats at that price point, but that's okay, because they're apparently releasing a variety of bats just in the regular line. That's fine by me. Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay. Listen fun, puke color tripwire. Matthew, I don't know what you're eating, but if your puke is the same colors as that tripwire, you might want to see a physician. But at the same time, you're not wrong. Tommy Throwback, what's in Kristian's cup? What is in Kristian's cup?
It is Screwball and Diet Coke.
What is Screwball?
Oh, Screwball, the greatest peanut butter whiskey on the face of the planet.
Wow. Okay. You know what? Now that you've said that, that has been recommended to me before, because I bought not the greatest peanut butter whiskey on the planet.
Oh, I have failed you as a friend then at Dragon Con. So I'm pretty sure I'm making it up for AWA, I'll bring you a bottle.
Okay. I'm into it. Matthew Comstock. We need Buzzer, aka D. Snyder, and Torch, aka Lemmy. First of all, incredibly obvious things that I've never heard before, but that seems pretty on point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But if that's the case, then what's Ripper? No word on what Ripper is. I'll bet they'll.
Who's a good rock star from the 70s/80s that had a mohawk?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anybody. It wasn't not. Who had that?
Johnny Rotten, but
that weird.
No, I was
mohawk.
thinking Henry Rollins, but Henry Rollins is actually too bulky for a Ripper.
Well, and he never really had a mohawk like that. Like, he either had long hair or the military cut. Like, that was kind of it for him. Which, by the way, let's get Rollins in the classified series. I'm all about that. That would be awesome.
And then we could do a Greg Allman as rock and roll.
That's almost what we're getting. Looking forward to that Thim Cobra Trooper. Absolutely, Alan Grant, you are correct. And that Tiger Force Tiger Force Tripwire. Maybe that's where we'll see him first. Yeah. Although we'll get to that. We've got a very interesting thoughts about Tiger Force and Python Patrol. But Tiger Force Tripwire
that could get me.
That would be very cool. I'd be down with that for sure. So we got some names, and then we got we'd seen grayscale renders, but then we got some colored renders. First up, Rock and Roll. Fantastic.
Holy
big
crap.
Bushy beard. Actually, he almost kind of looks like Zach Wilde a little bit. Big blonde beard, longer hair, tattoos, comes with alternate hands.
Yes.
And one of those alternate hands, he's got the devil horns. Awesome.
I gotta say, I do wish they had stuck with the one, just the all green.
Oh, let me try to do the screen share. Yeah. I kind of forgot I was going to try and do that.
Well, Noel, when you go back and you look at the gray render, I mean, that's what we thought. With the lack of color, it just looked like, oh my gosh, they're doing G1 rock and roll. And this was such a surprise.
I don't know if this is even going to show up on YouTube.
Yeah, I see it on my screen. Let's
You
see.
you see it on NoelTube?
Let me see if it's on YouTube.
Well, it's okay. It just switched. It's got my background and my notes. There it is. Okay.
Is it?
So
I see the
YouTube,
three of us on YouTube.
YouTube can see
Yep, I think
rock and roll
YouTube
now.
is catching up. Yep, it's good.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, and then so we now have
Stupid
speaker
delay.
view up in the top right corner. Okay, cool. We can do this. We can make this work. I can't see my notes anymore, but it'll be pretty apparent what order everything is in. How do you guys feel about the two color shirt?
I really like it. It's sort of like a nod to Rock and Roll version 2. I think color wise. So
I don't mind it, but I really am hoping that they do another version that is inspired more by the original 13, because it's just lacking something for me. I want my nostalgia, and like this just like it's just not right. It's a great figure, otherwise, just about a perfect rock and roll figure. But yeah, I do want, and who knows, they may do another release later on that is all green. You never know where they're going to do like retro styles, or just
they'll give us a Hasbro
repaints.
Pulse Stars and Stripes set.
That would be awesome. Although that would be very expensive.
Very.
Okay. I think I might like this more if rather than that beige, it was gray.
Yeah.
That beige is a little off-putting to me.
Or if it was just like a different shade of green, if it was like more of a lighter olive drab or something.
Oh, okay. If the beige part was the olive drab and then the shoulder part was a dark gray or black,
that would work.
But,
I think if it was two different shades of green, it would look like a mistake.
Well, and honestly, you could. There's no reason to have two tones on the upper. I actually think I'd like it better if it was just all beige up top and then green trousers, or the other way around.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, that would also be. Yeah, I don't like the two-tone. That really is kind of the. Well, I don't like the high contrast of this two-tone that much. We've got Rock and Roll looks amazing from Craig Dukas, but I wish they'd tone down the brown a bit. And he's right. There is a lot in his wristbands and his holster and his knee pads and his boots and his belt. There is a lot of the brown. But I don't know what else you do with that. You wouldn't necessarily want to go with you wouldn't want to mix black and brown. Brown is on the original figure. Maybe
personally, I think the only thing for me that I would change on it is the ammo bracelet on his one.
I'm taking that off of mine the second I get it out of the box. I don't care for that at all.
That's the only thing to me that's the one brown too much.
Matthew Comstock, I wanted OG 13 Rock and Roll 2. You're good to know I wasn't alone. And a good point. Craig makes a good point. All green Rock and Roll on a retro card. We don't yet know the fate of the because Emily at one point had said the retro line was ending, but then after that, Hasbro made the decision that with the retro lines, the plastic would continue. So we don't know at this point what's going to happen with those retro card back figures. So we could very well see a more traditional looking Rock and Roll. Reminds me of a Rob Liefeld X-Force design on the shirt. Yeah, it kind of does with the ribbed.
Except he has feet.
Look, yeah. Well, he does. Yes, he does have substantial ankles, so it's better.
Not nearly enough pockets.
Alan Grant, the bracelet is. Yeah, the bracelet's not so good, but you can take it off, so it's fine. Anything that can be removed from the figure, I'm not really going to complain about. It's fine, whatever. All right, let's move on to our next one, and that is Bazooka.
Yes,
Bazooka looking tough. I mean, obviously, it's the same sculpt as the Tiger Force Bazooka, but the traditional colors. And I gotta say, looks really, really good in these colors. That belt looks fantastic. He's got the different trousers that have the pockets on the front and on the side. The jersey looks great. This figure looks awesome.
He's bulked up. They mentioned that he's he's a little bit bigger than the other figures, and really, and this wasn't necessarily a surprise. This was not something we knew we were getting yet. It hadn't been officially announced they were going to do Bazooka in his original colors, so it was a kind of a good, not quite surprise.
Well, and plus, I mean, I'm still convinced that the initial Tiger Force and Python Patrol figures were supposed to be out months and months ago, and the Bazooka was probably supposed to be out by now. Like, I imagine they thought Tiger Force Outback and Tiger Force Bazooka would be in people's hands by the time they announced this one and put Outback up for pre-order, which we'll get to that. But
oh man, do you think we're going to have a repeat of the Gung Ho situation? Where now all those Tiger Force bazookas are going to get canceled.
Well, and that's I'm kind of thinking the same thing about Outback, because I know a lot of people didn't really want the Tiger Force Outback. Look, I love it. You love it. We all love it. But not everybody likes the Silver Fox. So
I don't like to say that everybody's wrong, but apparently they are.
We all have different thoughts and tastes and opinions. Bazooka is better than expected. The paint shades are dead on. Yeah, they are. They really are. A Golden Cub, hoping for Alpine and Bazooka 2-pack. We gotta get Alpine somewhat soon. They haven't even announced him yet, but my gosh, yeah, those two, they go together.
Yeah.
That to me, maybe they're not quite the same as Tomax and Zaymot and Xandar and Zarana, because in my headcanon, Xandar and Zarana are equally as connected as Tomax and Zaymot, but they're close. They're a top 5 G.I. Joe couple pairing, whatever.
They're best friends.
They are best friends. This guy, holy cow, Torpedo.
Yeah. This exceeded all my expectations.
Well, what's so fantastic, the two-tone looks great on this one. I feel like they nailed the colors, but what I really love on the original Torpedo, the air tanks are that like reddish orange, and they've carried that color throughout the figure. It's on the fins, it's on his breathing mask, it's on his knife. Like, they've taken a color that existed on the original figure, but they've expanded it out to tie everything together. This figure's beautiful. The feet,
to give it all those little pops.
If you look at the footwear, like, those look like they're functional on land. I like that they went to the effort of giving them treads and design. It's not just like a footy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything about this is amazing. He's got the submachine, and they made it a point that everything can be held onto the figure. So you're not going to have to shove a part in a drawer because he's got too many weapons. He's going to be able to peg everything on the backpack or hold it in his hands or put it in a holster. So I always love it when they take that extra attention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in modern action figure collecting, that is definitely something that I look for, is that all of the accessories can be stored on the figure. If I don't have to put stuff in a Ziploc and stick it in a drawer, it makes me very happy. And everything on this guy has a place, and I love it. And I am kind of wondering if the fins might store somewhere as well.
Like, I wonder if they peg onto his backpack too. It would make sense.
And you can't really tell. I mean, this is still, even though it looks fantastic, this is still just a render. But I would like that. And you've got one of the old I think it was the 50th anniversary Cobra Paratrooper you were able to store. He came with swim fins, and you were able to store those in his gear, which was very cool. I would love to see that here, because I don't necessarily want him standing on my shelf with his fins on. but also I'll do that. That's fine. That portrait, this just hit me. He looks a little bit like the wrestler Ricky Starks.
That's exactly who I was trying to figure it out.
Okay. The gentleman who sculpted him put on his Twitter that the profile is sculpted after someone.
And he didn't say
he
who
still hasn't said. Like, people keep guessing, and as far as I've seen, he still has not said who.
I was just sitting there staring at the face, and I was like, who does he look like? And as soon as you said Ricky Starks, I was like, absolute
yes.
Ricky
Starks right in front of us. Okay, we got some more comments here. Matthew Comstock. Now we have Classic Outback, aka Delta Force Chuck Norris, to go with our Tiger Force Outback, aka Sam Elliott. Matthew, you are spot on with these celebrity comparisons. I'm enjoying this. Tommy Throwback, I love it. And Alan Grant, I wanted Wetsuit over Torpedo, and then I saw what they did with Torpedo. Positive emoji sign. Yeah,
well,
and
this is an easy. You can tweak this a little bit to make your wetsuit eventually.
Oh,
which
for
I
sure.
think
Give him short sleeves.
Yeah.
Really, that's it. Just short sleeves, and then recolor it, and I think you're good to go.
Yeah.
And
new head sculpt.
I prefer same page. Like, if I'm looking at the original figures, I prefer wetsuit. But looking at this Torpedo, well, this is incredible. I want this, especially again with the mask off. We have a portrait. He's capable of land action as well. I think he's great.
Yeah, I did like when they made the
wetsuit.
comment that the rest of the Joes know when Torpedo shows up, he's got it. Everything's under control. So I was like, oh, they're taking into account that he's a tough guy, not just in sea.
Well, and that's one of the things I love about it. And we haven't talked about it yet. I want to give so much credit to the Joe team because they're fantastic. They're fun. They're enthusiastic. They love this product. They always put on a fun panel. And very clearly they are looking at, they always talk about storytelling. They always talk about building a world. And the fact that they think about this stuff, that they're not just taking the Torpedo figure and going, well, let's make this bigger. They're thinking about how these characters interact and their personalities and how they function within G.I. Joe. I love that. I love that they're taking those things into consideration, because that's a critical part of getting us as lifelong Joe fans on board and getting us invested, not just collecting, but invested in this line. It's a very important thing, and this team is nailing it. All right. Oh, Craig Dukas, bring on the eels. Absolutely. And I'm sure we'll get an eel announcement within the next few months.
We got snow serpents. I think that means we're getting eels.
Absolutely. Well, and also Hasbro at this point has to know the value of a troop builder.
Yeah.
Because the first thing today, when everything went up for pre-order, the first thing to sell out was the Crimson Bat troop builder. All right. Oh, this
is so
you guys,
good.
This is incredible. Copperhead, one of my favorite Cobras. I do like that they specified that he is an individual. It's not like it's Water Moccasin Pilot. It's Copperhead. And they talked again about personality, about look at his portrait, the intensity in those eyes. And this was a very interesting comment by Lenny. They discussed, or actually, no, it wasn't Lenny. It might have been Corey that said they had discussed giving him a removable helmet. And
you don't need to do,
I agree.
Copperhead doesn't have a
right. There was no reason to do it, but just the fact that they're having those conversations, it's important. It's important to know that's how they're looking at these things.
Yep.
So the detailing on the helmet on that front piece just looks incredible. But the texture of his uniform is what's so interesting to me, because it looks like it's not tight like a wetsuit, but it does look like a waterproof type material. Like the way that they've sculpted it, it looks like a heavy, almost like rubbery or PVC type fabric. It doesn't look like cloth. And again, just that detail, just that thought of, well, this is a water-oriented guy. Let's give him a uniform that has that look to it, like almost like raincoat material or something. He's got some kind of tattoo on the inside of his forearm up there, which is interesting. What else about this guy?
He has accessories, which of course the original never did. It's not a lot, but they do make sense. He's got a little like Mauser pistol, and he's got another like it's got like a revolver with a scope. Is that what that is?
Mhm.
And
it's like a Dirty Harry revolver.
Yeah, and
with
then
a scope.
Machete, which of course you've got to have the machete when he's going through the swamps.
And that machete is particularly wicked looking too. I love that thing. I love the concept of, the Joe weaponry with some exceptions is kind of straightforward stuff. And when you get to the Cobras, they get a little more wicked, interesting looking gear, like more singular, weird stuff. I really like that concept. We've got some more comments here. Matthew Comstock, don't forget the tube worms. I will never forget the tube worms. But I think if we get tube worms, they're probably going to come from Super 7. I want the tube worm with Baroness's little bubble submarine and some divers. I want all of that. Throw it all at me. Tommy Throwback, will the live podcast happen more often? Love it. We love it too. It's really just a matter of our scheduling and having something to anchor it to. But I do think, honestly, maybe these news episodes we could do a little bit more frequently. Well, it's definitely something.
Especially following up on something like this. This is a good opportunity to do it when we had something that was really fresh. Because if we had recorded this, you wouldn't have gotten it for a week. So it's good to have.
And this will still be available. If the audio version will still be available as a regular podcast this coming Friday. But yeah, this live one, it definitely, if Hasbro gives us enough meat on the bone, we'll do it. But yeah, it's something we'll certainly think about on a more regular basis. We're figuring it out, so it's once we really get the particulars nailed down, it'll be easier to do. Craig Dukas, oh my gosh, Copperhead and likely eels soon. Now I have to get that Fortnite boat. We didn't even talk about that Fortnite boat.
My! Well, wait, okay, because I just recently saw it, but I have not seen it in stores. So is it because Fortnite has both the 3 3/4 and the 6-inch scale? So which one is the boat?
The boat is 1/12 scale. I don't even know if it's going to stores. It might. I can't look at anything right now. My screens are like all being used, but I want to say the boat might have been a Pulse exclusive. I don't know that it is a retail release, but I'm not positive.
I've only just recently seen people posting about it on Instagram, and I was like, what? I mean, either way, it works for the Joes that we have.
I've seen some shots of it loaded up with classified figures, and it looks pretty awesome.
Whoa!
Yeah, I would love to see it in Devilfish colors.
I was gonna say this would make a really, really good Devilfish.
It would make an acceptable Devilfish until they actually release a Devilfish with wetsuit, maybe. Golden Cub, I want water robots. So do I. And that's where that big fig Jax, hollow plastic thing would come in great. Loving this live broadcast. We love it too. This is a lot of fun, and I love interacting with you guys. This makes everything
we love our fans.
We can see you guys are having fun. Sure. Oh, there he is. Yes, Sherman. This seemed like the perfect time for a live stream. You were not wrong about that. We thought about going a little bit later, but I think 8 p.m. feels good, right? Okay. Let's keep going. Copperhead, it's awesome instant pre-order whenever he goes up.
Give us that Hasbro Pulse water moccasin now.
Yes. Yeah, even if it has to be scaled down just a tad, I don't care. As long as it's the shape. And I mean a tad. I'm not talking I'm not talking that fang.
Chibi style.
Yeah, don't cut the front parts off. All right, Kristian, why don't you take this one?
Oh, we might have to turn my screen off now. I mean, okay, I'm still a little heartbroken that Polly's a slug, but compared to the render, Shipwreck looks even better. I hope the way they have his mouth, I hope that makes it into the sculpt, because it's not really like a sneer, but it sort of half open. The hairpiece, like the tattoo, just everything about him, absolutely perfect. The weathering even on the pants, and they even brought that up. Yeah,
I'm curious to see that in when it actually is a sculpted version we're looking at.
Now, again, these are just renders, so his hook anchor piece, do you think they're going to include actual, like, rope, string, whatever, with it? Or
I think it's got to have like a soft goods rope, right? Because
that's what I would think.
So
what do you do with that otherwise? And we know that about renders. Well, okay, I know that for being a collector of Mattel's WWE line, is when you're looking at renders, you don't see soft goods,
right?
In general. So because what are you going to do? Attach it to that plastic rope? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But maybe he just comes with it, and they're like, "Well, kids, find your own rope." Kind of like when they do a bow without the string, which, believe me, I prefer that to the plastic, like the giant thick plastic string. So I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, he is. If you took the G1 Shipwreck and you needed to update him to today, this is exactly what he is. They didn't have to go crazy. The colors are perfect. Again, I think the only place that they missed was not finding a way to give us, at least articulate Polly's head.
Yeah,
well, we don't. Oh yeah, we do know that it's not articulated because they mentioned how Polly is looking.
Well, and they also mentioned a couple of times where I thought, oh, they're joking. But they did mention how they gave Polly a peg leg,
which is bizarre.
I think they mean that it peg, like the leg has a peg, and that's how it attaches.
That's what I thought.
That's what I thought. But then there's a few times where they kept mentioning it makes her more pirate-like or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wait, are they not joking? I mean, obviously we'll see.
Can I zoom in here? Hang on. Let me try and work on my controls here.
But they did clarify Polly is a member of Joe.
Yes.
So
I was disappointed.
Joe Saturday mornings.
Well, that's a different continuity.
I know.
It's a different continuity. It's fine. We've got some more comments.
I was disappointed that that doesn't have the wings like Freedom with Spirit, that you can so you can have Polly all sprayed out. But the other thing I was wondering, so they explicitly used she pronouns with Polly, and I've always been under the impression that Polly's a he. Like, I think Shipwreck refers to Polly as a he in the cartoon.
Oh, that's weird. In my head, Polly was female.
So I'm not sure. Huh. I don't know if it's ever been official, but they refer to her as she, and obviously Polly's typically a woman's name, but. Yeah.
But to all our listeners out there that are 3D printers, now you know what your next challenge is.
Get us some articulated Pollys.
Polly in flight.
Yes.
I've got some more comments here. Craig Dukas, and I apologize if I mispronounce anybody's name. Obviously, I'm doing my best here. Okay. Just saw the Fortnite boat on Best Buy's website, $77. So it is a wider retail release. Matthew Comstock, as I said on your Instagram post earlier, Shipwreck's extra hair is hysterical. And it does, like, in this context, it is hilarious because it's just like a giant toupee.
Well, and the
But
way
I
that they
love
even
that
said
he
it,
has it.
yeah, because they were like, "Oh, when Shipwreck's not on the boat," and I'm like, there are no times that, off the top of my head, that I can think of really where Shipwreck didn't have his hat. So I just love, again, going back to that storytelling.
Yes.
You look at that and you immediately know Shipwreck's personality. I mean,
He's
we'll
going
get
out on
into
the
it,
town.
but absolutely, he is going to be putting some dippy doo in that hair and going up to Covergirl, trying to take that Wolverine for a ride.
Craig is saying, I was wondering the same about the hook. Does he just hold and swing it? Yeah, it's literally just, it's like a battering weapon. Like, it's not even a grappling hook. He just uses it and beats cobras with it.
Sure.
Golden
That's-
Cub, I love him. I would have loved to have seen a second Polly in flight with him. I agree with that, but I would not rule out the possibility of some other version of Polly down the line. They have to know people want a different mode of Polly.
Maybe that's what we'll get with Spy Troops Shipwreck when he's in the sweater gear, because we got to get him at some point.
Yeah, and that would actually be really cool. I would like to see that one. Channing, Shipwreck comes with a kung fu mullet. Let's see. Tommy Throwback. Yes, I want to see how the mullet toupee looks. Pronouncing correctly, sir. Thank you. Thank you. They added the peg leg so Polly can be placed on his arm or shoulder. I think the pirate thing is just their way of justifying it. Yeah, and I think I maybe they were just trying to make a joke of it, because they mentioned he's got a little a very tiny hole on his wristband where Polly can sit there. And I've got to say, that's probably what I'm going to do, because I'm not a fan of how it looks with the, like, maybe the figure will look a little bit better, but the rope seems to be sitting a little high on the shoulder. It looks a little awkward to me.
I just hope it pegs in better than my Freedom does on my Spirit, because it will not sit on his arm at all. It will not peg in.
Oh, really?
So,
Mine will peg in, but it weighs his arm down.
Yeah, I've got mine on the backpack,
over.
and every time I look at the shelf, the backpack has like rotated just a bit from the weight of Freedom.
Mine is
Freedom
on the backpack, but I can't.
Free, and it weighs a ton.
Yeah, mine's on the backpack, but I had to secure the backpack to his body, because the backpack just falls off when he's on it because he weighs so much. So, yeah, we have much less bird action here than we did with Freedom, though.
So we got a little preview of some of our HasLab Hiss Tank. Show of hands for comments and for us. Who backed the Hiss Tank?
Twice.
That's right. Did you do two?
I bought two, yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I knew that.
I bought the second one while we were live streaming.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You did. That's right.
Yeah.
Because I was seriously considering it. And by the time I decided, gosh, I should really do this, I realized, oh, it's midnight. Oh, well. So here is our gunner. Looks fantastic. Proportionally just looks wicked. Kristian, you had a good point about the coloring.
Yeah, I hope that this metallic red is, no, they did say she's hand painted right now. So I hope that the metallic red is what they stick with. Because if she wasn't a Hiss Tank gunner, if she was just an individual Cobra assassin, I would buy her. She looks evil. She looks deadly. If any of you guys out there play Overwatch, in one of their seasonal offerings, she reminds me of the assassin character. So especially with the weapon there. So I don't know how much I'll have her in my Hiss display. as I will her attacking the Joes in their base display.
Yeah, this is a killer looking figure, and you're right. The metallic red that you can see, the helmet, the armor, and then
it's like liquid blood. Not that
Yeah.
blood isn't already liquid.
Yeah, that melee weapon, because I remember we were looking at the renders of it before, and we're like, that's a really interesting weapon, but it looks so cool now that we're seeing it in 360 degrees. That big mace at the end.
Craig Dukas, she looks like she's from The Running Man. She does. And that's which, by the way, how do we not have Running Man figures from somebody? Sub-Zero, now Plane Zero. All right. And then we get, look at this guy. Holy cow.
I really hope that matte finish is final.
Yeah, I do too. That was the first thing that jumped out at me was that nice flat, like no gloss.
Like I might switch it up with the helmet, but I like it like this on the rest of the uniform.
Isn't it weird seeing the helmet without the stripe now? Whoa.
Yeah.
No. I think I'm like one of the only people on the face of the planet.
I'm not saying it's bad. Well, but after so many figures of late that have, I guess,
because every time I see it, I'm always like, that's wrong.
Well, see, I felt that way when the 25th anniversary stuff started coming out. I was like, what is this stripe? Because I'd never thought of it that way. But those just got me used to it because so many of them had it. And I'm not saying I prefer it. I'm just saying it stands out now. Wow, it doesn't have that stripe on top.
I just don't think I ever adjusted to it.
But look at the stirrups on the pants, like the way the uniform is that like form fitting, the belt, everything. This is phenomenal. And I know some are opposed to upscaling of the original Real American Hero figures. And I don't consider even this to be that, because yes, it is a larger version, but it's the articulation is different, the aesthetic is different, the even the proportions are different. None of these
matters. But we've already gotten 3 Cobra Commanders already, so take your pick of one of the other ones.
Yeah, you're right.
This is Cobra Commander.
You don't want yours upscaled. This is what I've been waiting for. Is an upscaled 3 3/4 inch figure.
Well, but that's not even really what this is. Like an upscaled Real American Hero figure would be like a 6-inch tall O-ring. Like this is an improved modern version of that look. It's a different thing. And people, when they're arguing against that, they of course try to dumb it down to the simplest argument. But this guy looks phenomenal.
The only thing if the faceplate isn't a little bit more reflective, I'm probably going to chrome pin him.
It looks like it is. I might have a better look at this image than you guys have, but to me, it looks like the gloss on it, like it has a nice metallic finish. Because this is literally a snapshot from YouTube. This is not even a high res image. I'm glad it looks as good as it does. I think that faceplate, it's not vac metal, but I do think it's going to be really nice, shiny metallic.
Vac metal is a little too much. I think just having a little bit of gloss on it's going to be nice.
Yeah, no, I don't want vac metal because that's going to scratch at some point.
I would, not if you're careful. How old are you? It's going to scratch. What, are you going to let your cats play with it?
I mean, who else is playing with me?
You may not have a choice in that. I know how cats can be. But anyway, this is phenomenal. Craig asks, Cobra Commander doesn't have the white upper belt. I would imagine they might make that change on the next version of this Cobra Commander, because
and that might have the white stripe on the head too.
Yeah,
for all we know.
Clearly, so my hope is that when we do get another version, it's the exact same shade of blue, so you can mix and match the parts if you want to. Like you can swap the heads. But yeah, we're going to see this sculpt again. 100%.
Yeah, I think we're getting this one as a regular release with the proper Cobra symbol.
Yes.
Probably the white belt and probably the stripe on the head, and maybe a slightly different tone on the shield, or maybe something different with the gloves or something. There'll be some of the like little tiny difference that'll justify putting it out.
And if you notice, again, this is just the one image that I took because I was trying to get screen captures while the video was going. I didn't want to get too far behind ever. So, but he is holding his blaster in that right hand. So he does include that. Although I think we saw that. Yeah, we saw that in the render.
Yeah.
In the render.
That was in the render.
Which they did say it also pegs into his back too. So.
Oh, Golden Cub has a good point. If you really do want a super shiny faceplate, there's a chrome paint pen that Adam Savage has actually used on his YouTube channel. That's insane. Like, it is it basically makes a mirror. I can't believe how fast, and I keep meaning to order one, and I just haven't done it yet. Maybe I'll do that and do a little Needless Things review. All right, I'm not sure what's next. Let's find out. Oh, that's next. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
hang on a second.
Okay.
I got to deal with this.
I like that your face disappears as you drink your screwball. No. Why don't you tell us about this guy?
This is not Slaughter's Marauders. This is Mad Marauders Barbecue.
Okay, wait. What are you talking about? I missed this.
So the artwork was shared a little bit later on, and it says, because they just introduced this as Marauders Barbecue.
Right.
They never said Slaughter's Marauders. And I was like, oh, I'm sure that's just the way they're saying it. But when the packaging came out, it says Mad Marauders on it.
Marauders?
There was a lot of speculation that I was seeing in the comments on the site that initially shared it. It could just be because, every time they put Slaughter's name on something, they probably have to pay him.
Oh, yeah, I bet you're right.
So,
and wouldn't you be mad if someone dressed you in those colors?
But why would you add Mad? Why wouldn't you just call them Marauders?
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. It could that could also there could also be something with the whole Marauders Task Force thing with that too. Maybe they have to add Mad to
Oh wow! Yeah, you're right. Holy cow!
I mean, those are all thoughts that I had.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this is obviously a take on the Slaughter's Marauders Barbecue, which I've never understood the appeal of, and still don't to this day.
I got to tell you, I think this looks kind of cool. I guess I'm alone in that.
I have heard some people online raving about this figure.
I'm not raving about it.
But the part that gets me, though, is the people that I've heard that have raved about it are usually negative about everything else. And they keep going on about how great this figure will look in swamp dioramas. How often, I mean, maybe it's because I live in Florida.
You have to
how
fight
often
fires
do you see
in a swamp?
wildfires in swamps?
Well, he's got the axes for clearing the brush.
I guess.
I don't know. No,
happy for everyone who wants him. Legit, I am happy for everyone who wants him. But
and I do have to note, we are into the pre-orders now. We're into the figures that actually went up for pre-order today, and from most places are still available. Some of these sold out on Pulse, but Amazon and Target and everywhere else, Big Bad, everywhere else has them available. There are going to be plenty of them.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because this is the first of the Marauders designs we've got, and the only other character we've seen at all in that line, besides Sergeant Slaughter, of course, is Spirit. They haven't announced a mutt yet. We got Lowlight as a name, right? But we haven't gotten a Lowlight render. We don't have a Footloose yet. So all those figures have not yet even been announced. So if they're going to roll these out, they're not going to be rolling out like a whole bunch of them like they were doing with the Tiger Force.
Yeah, that's true. But I didn't care about this at all when they announced it. But I think it looks kind of cool. I'm not paying $25.
It's a great photo. They make
It is a great photo.
They make him look cool.
I'm not paying $25 for it, and I did not pre-order it.
They kind of have him in the pose from the toy catalog from '85 as well, where he's standing doing that, where everybody else is doing the Yojo.
Mhm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like
That's
like your desktop background.
Yeah, he is a little bit different, isn't he?
Yep.
Only he's not getting overly familiar with airtight. Okay, what do we got here? He's a mad Matthew Comstock. He's a mad marauder because the Viper keeps calling him. He just wants to vipe his Vendos, you guys. Channing Sherman, I don't get the name change. Plus, Mad Marauders is just a silly name, and you're right, it is. But it's one of those things like when they lost. And this, I'm making this up, but like with Transformers, whenever they lost the rights to Hot Rod, and they had to name him like Warm Roderick or
Rodimus Minor.
Yeah, what I don't know. It's the same kind of thing. And you know what? And this is where it comes into me as somebody who, as everyone can see, opens everything. Once I throw that packaging away, it doesn't matter what the name on it is. Who cares? Now, for mint and box collectors, which we're not getting into any of the packaging stuff this episode because we don't have time, but I get it. No chuckles. No chuckles yet. No chuckles yet.
Nope.
I'm a big chuckles
Well, hopefully
fan.
we provided you with a few tonight.
You just gave me one there. And whenever we do get chuckles, I hope he's another big beefy guy. I want big chuckles like he was in Sunbow. All right, Crimson Bat. Now, I will say this. I'm kind of on board with any color bats they want to put out. I do, however, kind of wish this was an Inferno bat with the translucent plastic, but I realize that's not really Hasbro's bag. Like, that's more of a Super 7 thing. And my gosh, I hope Super 7 does a translucent Inferno bat. But this guy looks really cool. Nothing?
Yeah.
Really? You guys are such repaint.
No.
This is a good looking figure. I don't have a need for it in my collection, so it's one that I was like, okay, well, this is one I can skip, but I definitely can appreciate it. Obviously, it's a great mold. I have 4 of them already, so I don't need a bunch of other colored bats out there. But yeah, if you want to beef up your Crimson Guard troops, then this is a good way to add a little bit of depth to that lineup.
They look like they weathered these more than the first release bats. Like, yeah, I'm with Noel. It's a great looking figure, but meh.
Yeah, I'm not at this price point. I am not a troop builder because I'm collecting too many freaking things. I cannot troop build a $25 action figure.
Now, what did you guys think? I think it was Lenny that made the comment that the chest plate has like a UPC to show which bats, like these have been assigned to Tomax and Zaymon. I'm like,
yeah.
So does that happen with all the other, like, does every gun, are we that fiscally responsible in Cobra?
Oh, I would love
Are we
that.
doing inventory every
Yes.
October?
Well,
But sure.
We need a Cobra clerk figure.
Well, we need Raptor is who we need.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's get Raptor in the line. Deluxe figure. He would be like one of the new AEW Supreme figures. So he would have different like legs and everything. So he would have his accountant suit and he would have his bird costume. That's all I want. Is that so much to ask for an $80 deluxe Raptor figure with 12 Falcons, a bird suit, a business suit, a little accounting, a computer, a laptop? Doesn't everybody want that?
I
Raptor?
feel like you're joking,
I'm
but
not.
I would buy that
I'm
before
not
I
joking.
would buy Mad Marauder Barbecue.
I'm joking as far as believing that would ever happen, but I am not joking that I 100% want that to happen. So Crimson Bat, very cool. I will buy I think the Bat is the best classified figure that's been released so far. I will buy it in pretty much any color they want to do. And I would love, I mentioned this, we haven't mentioned His Tank yet tonight. I love the His Tank forums, all the commenters in there, their thoughts, their input are invaluable. But I mentioned I would love if Pulse would do a reproduction of the Mail Away bat set from 2000. Oh gosh, was it 2002 or 2001? Now I can't remember. But it came with Overkill, 3 regular bats, and 2 Inferno bats. I would love it. I would love it. But of course, that would be like $150 or something. So whatever. So Crimson Bat, very cool. I pre-ordered one. Falcon.
Yes. They made me like Falcon.
Well, tell us about this Falcon.
He looks fantastic. We obviously had seen the renders before, but I mean, he looks as good as he could possibly look. They got all the detail down. They got, you can see he's got the spats on his boots there. The beret is perfectly molded. And you know how I feel about berets.
You love a good beret.
It's also removable. You got that amazing combat pack. The detail on that is fantastic.
Well, with
just all
the knife,
sculpting.
The knife storage too.
With the knife storage. He's got the removable accessories. The web gear can be removed, so it looks really good in these pictures. And the posing, I mean, that just is the icing on the cake, the way they have him posed.
The portrait to me actually looks, and this angle doesn't display it the best, but when they had the on the Lazy Susan thing, which I realize that's not what they call it when you're displaying toys. That's what they call it when you're like wheeling the gravy around a maw. But the portrait to me looked a lot like the Sunbow Falcon.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciated, especially once they took the beret off, and for some reason the hair just looked right. It looked good. I like the colors on this, and the camouflage look. Channing Sherman, I like the figure, but I'll have to pass. Falcon is to G.I. Joe what Hot Rod is to Transformers. You're not wrong at all. You're literally correct. But like, I always loved Falcon as a figure. And he really might be one of the early cases of me kind of ignoring what was in a cartoon or whatever and kind of doing my own thing, because the Falcon figure was so cool that I needed it to be better than the character in the cartoon, and I used it that way.
Yeah, the figure the figure is one of my top 5 probably all-time G.I. Joe figures. It's such a great figure. So I separate the art and the artist in this case.
I never felt that way until doing this podcast with you guys. I 100% can give Noel credit for making me come around to getting this figure.
Yeah, he's a great figure, and this version just looks fantastic. He's going to look great on the shelf. The shotgun, I love how the shells are stored underneath the stock in the back there. Like this very unique, cool looking shotgun. I like this quite a bit. This would actually, if they wanted to repaint this slightly, I would love to see Flint with this shotgun.
Well, and I love that shotgun it's not just one color. There's at least 3 different paint applications on that. Whereas like go back and look at like Beachhead's terrible weapons that were like all molded in green.
Well,
we've come a long way.
If we go back through what we've looked at tonight, most of the weapons have at least a paint app.
Yeah.
I think we're past Hasbro thinking it's okay to give us uncolored. As a matter of fact, we'll just real quick, I'll zip back through.
Yeah, those are
like a black pistol like that's fine. Whatever. That pistol probably is going to be black, but the flintlock, has paint. Look at that.
Yeah.
So you throw in one black pistol with these guys and that's fine, but look at the painted detail on the rest of this stuff.
Then of course this one, there's all sorts of colors going on with those accessories.
Even Rock and Roll's machine gun. Look at this. It's got 2 different paint apps on it.
And that's not even necessary. That could have been just black and I'd be fine.
So yeah, they've definitely learned, they've moved forward. And look, if that's part of the reason why these are $24.99 now, okay.
Yeah.
Outback regular Outback Classic.
When they showed this picture initially, I was like, is that somebody in a costume? Because that's such a great picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. I mean, it really, really does. And it's just spot on.
Yeah.
And again, yes, it looks exactly like the original figure, but it is modernized. It is plussed up. It is hyper detailed. It looks look, he's holding the flashlight. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Craig Dukas, I won't settle for a black pistol without the red safety dot. Darn it, Hasbro, get those red safety dots on those pistols. If you take one bristle of a paintbrush and put it on there, we're not satisfied. Yeah, Outback looks fantastic. I really like Tiger Force Outback a lot, but Outback was one of my favorite figures from the original line. And especially after reading what is issue 62, I think I read earlier today, where Outback, Stalker, Quick Kick, and Snow Job have been captured in a foreign country after attempting to rescue a reporter who had already been freed. Outback, Stalker orders Outback to escape and get back to Joe headquarters. He gets back, gets debriefed, and Leatherneck's all mad. He's like, how could you leave him behind? And Outback's like, look, I've had a rough day.
Just following orders.
Give me a second. And Leatherneck gets up in his face, and before he knows it, Outback has a knife at his throat, saying, pal, you need to give me a minute. Like, Outback is one tough SOB, and I like it.
Well, that's the thing. With Outback, we never got any support in the Sunbow cartoon because he came along in 87 and he wasn't one of the characters featured in the movie. So it wasn't until I read those comics that I had a connection with Outback. Otherwise the figure was like, all right, he's a guy with a white shirt that says survival on it. That's kind of weird. But yeah, once they did the characterization in the comic, that was when, okay, this guy's a character I love now.
See, for me, I just immediately connected with the figure just because it seemed like so much extra toy over the other figures, because it had the flashlight, it had the web gear that was a separate piece. So much personality in that portrait on the original figure. Right off the bat, I loved this guy. All right. Covergirl.
Yay.
Man, just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Kristian, tell us about this one.
This is the figure Scarlett wishes she could be. They, again, the hair sculpt is better than what we saw in the render. I love that they didn't go full coverall, like it's, a shirt, different tone pants, the accessories, giving her the wrench. The
wrench really ties the figure together.
Yeah.
The fact that it can be stored on her belt.
Yep. Like when they made the comment, like, oh, she's not just the driver, she's also a mechanic, which I don't necessarily remember that aspect of her from G1, but I love that as something for her now. The paint job, phenomenal. And that's something, especially with like Marvel Legends over the years, female figures with makeup tend to have a hard time, but at least from these photos, they seem to have got it right. Like, she is someone who could definitely be on the cover of a magazine, but she's also going to kick your butt.
Well, her portrait looks to me like a specific model from like the late 80s, early 90s, and I cannot think who it is, but those cheekbones, like I can't think of any model names.
Yeah, well, she tells Duke she doesn't drive the Wolverine for less than $10,000 a day. Like, she doesn't even wake up for less than that.
She's got a great shotgun. She's got a pistol. The wrench is fantastic, but she also has the data pad, which is a nice addition. And if you look at this image we're looking at now, and again, I didn't capture the rest of the images that they showed, but I mean, look at the screen on that data pad. You can see the vibrant color on it, which apparently is an image of the Wolverine.
Okay.
Mhm.
I just this is awesome. She is tough. She looks good.
Yeah, this was getting to this point. I was like, because everything we'd seen up to this point, I was like, this looks really. And as soon as I saw this one, I was like, my jaw dropped, because they again nailed this one. They exceeded my expectations with it. I love the fact that they kept pretty much all the original colors. You've got the, because that kind of mustard shade pants. You thought maybe they would darken that up a little bit.
Right.
I'm glad they kept that. I'm glad they kept the same look with the lighter tan shirt underneath the bomber jacket.
Mhm.
And they kept the hairstyle from the original figure too. They didn't go with like the blonde that they had done in some of their incarnations.
Yeah. Although
I'm
we
sure-
will possibly see that at some point, I'm guessing.
I'm sure it's just the lighting from this photo, but the way it looks now, it actually looks like they did do shading in the hair to give it some different colorization, which again, they had tried something a little similar with that first Scarlet, but I don't think it was very successful.
So we've got some comments about Covergirl. Covergirl and this is from Channing Sherman. Covergirl and Outback were my favorites. Pre-ordered both. Craig Dukas, I ordered both as well. Channing, according to her file card, AFV mechanic is her secondary specialty. So there you go.
Oh, good to know.
It is part of the lore, as some say. And then Craig, she looked great, but that data pad sealed the deal, right? That thing just looks awesome.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered all of these except for the Marauders Barbecue. I did my typical ordered from Amazon and ordered from Pulse, and whoever gets it to me first, which will probably be Amazon. Interesting thing about Amazon, if you pre-order from Amazon and the price fluctuates between now and when it releases, you get the lowest price. That last Snake Eyes and Timber set that has not yet come out, at one point the price dropped to $34.99, and it's now my pre-order is now locked in for that, but the retail is still $44.99 on it. So I recommend, if you stay on top of your pre-orders. I've talked about this before. I have on my notepad in my phone, I have a list of every single pre-order I have. My Pulse pre-orders, I have the order number, because Pulse is very difficult to scroll through. They don't want you canceling pre-orders, so they do not make it easy to find your orders. I've got all of my Pulse pre-order numbers in there, so I can go in and cancel as soon as I need to. Keep a spreadsheet, do whatever you got to do, keep track of those pre-orders and stay on top of things so you can get stuff early and as cheap as possible.
I gotta say, with Covergirl, now we need a clutch and a cross country so I can get my motor pool together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be very interested to see how they handle cross country once they get to him.
Yeah, because
he needs some tweaks.
Yeah, but they released a figure not too long ago in the 50th line, and obviously they didn't put much detail on the problem area. So we'll see what they do with that. I mean, it's easy to remedy. You just put an American flag there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't even know if they're going to do that.
Well, and he's got to have a different hat, I think.
Yeah,
you can't have that Civil War. Yeah. All right, I think we've got one more image to talk about. Yes, Serpentor. Good old Serpentor. Serpentor, who, okay, the air chariot is massive. It looks awesome. I love it. The figure looks absolutely incredible. The cape, the soft goods cape with the scales tampoed into it. But you guys, this is horrible. how do you function? How do you function with this in your field of vision all the time? Why would you do this? Hasbro, please answer me this question. Why this is, I could deal with this. Now, I wouldn't, if I were the greatest military mind in the history of the world, I wouldn't have anything obstructing my field of vision. But like, I could deal with this. But this is not acceptable. Terrible design. Otherwise, this is fantastic. I ordered 2 of them because my son, who is like kind of casually collecting classified, he just is like, oh, that figure looks really cool, I want it. And this is one of the ones he wanted. And fortunately, there was a limit of 2 on this guy as opposed to the 1 that Mindbender had. So I was able to get 1 for me, 1 for him. They're pre-ordered. We're good to go. But I had to get that out about his face fangs. Otherwise, how do you guys feel about this guy?
Otherwise, just perfect. I love his sword. I love his staff. He's got he also comes with the snake spear, so you can recreate Killing Duke, which is what we all want to do.
Well, that's what we need. We need a Duke figure that comes with an alternate chest with a little hole in it.
Yep.
Can.
The air chariot, they showed like the mouth of course opens and the fangs retract, so you can keep the mouth closed, or you can drop it down and drop the fangs back down too.
And there's a little gun in there.
Yeah, yeah. Which he had to like put his hand behind it so you could see the contrast because he's wearing the black shirt. I think you brought up that it looks like the guns may have just been repurposed versions of Roadblocks.
It looks guns. They look like Madus.
Yeah, and I mean they could have done that as a cost-cutting saver,
which is fine with me. I mean, I have no problem with it at all. It's brilliant. If that's, I mean, it looks to me that looks like the OG Roadblock gun.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when he pulled it off and the handle on top and everything, and with the ammo belt, and they even said down the line we'll have possibly alternate options, for ammo to feed into these. So they were very well, and it's even the peg where it mounts onto the air chariot. Well, you just put the tripod on that. Similar to the version 2 Roadblock gun.
I also really like that they've expanded on the Cobra sigils, Cobra symbols, because now you have the Cobra symbol with the crown on top for Serpentor. They showed it it's on the side of the air chariot.
Oh, okay. Oh, you can barely make it out in this image. But hopefully these will be here by December 1st. So we'll be able to.
We should have these in 60 days if all goes well.
We'll have it in hand, and a review will be up on the Needless Things YouTube channel, which you're watching right now. And once I'll say this for everybody watching, we are very, very close to 1,000 subscribers. Once I get to 1,000 subscribers, I will do a tour of every glow-in-the-dark toy in this toy room that I'm sitting in right now, which this is what you're seeing behind me is just a small portion of the insanity that's down here. So I will record. It will be the first tour of this room ever. So 1,000 subscribers. I think we're like 13 away right now. So tell your friends. But yeah, I'll definitely be reviewing this guy and talking about the stupid placement of his face fangs. And let's see, what do we got? Is there one more up here? Oh, did you guys order Serpentor?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I had an alarm set.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
For like 4:50 to make sure I was in front of a computer, logged in, and I was actually refreshing. They went up. It wasn't exactly at 5 o'clock, so I started getting nervous. I was like, let me. And it was like 5:02 or so. I think they finally, when I refreshed, they were there. So I was able to get mine.
Let me tell you
now. I mean, leading up to this, they said that they made 3 times more.
Well, they made 3 times more Mindbenders than they did Master of Disguise Zartan.
Okay,
and they made an equal number of Serpentors
to Mindbender.
Correct.
Okay, that makes more sense then, because I did hear from Golden Club that when the 6 o'clock hour hit, he was sold out within 20 minutes. And I was like, what? But I thought they made even more than Mindbender.
No,
but
it was equal
knowing
to
it's the same amount, then okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I did have to enter a queue to check out. So I was able to out of the bag, but it was like, you know, please wait, don't leave this page. You are in queue. It was maybe 20 to 30 seconds. Like, I know when there's a big Lego drop, if you go into that, you have to get into the queue to get onto the website. And if you navigate away, you lose your place in line. So this one at least lets you add them to your cart before you go into the queue to check out, which I think is a little bit better.
Well, the fun of this versus Mattel is Mattel, when they put something up for pre-order. I recently did this with Wondar.
Mm-hmm.
If you click on the page, like the first minute or so that it's supposed to be available, it says sold out. And then when you refresh it, it will say add to cart. But instead of saying like coming soon or something, it says sold out. And you're like, because in the past, Mattel stuff has sold out in 4 seconds. So you don't know for sure. There he is, Sergeant Slaughter. I did not have time today to, excuse me. Sorry, guys. I didn't have time today to watch the Sergeant Slaughter or the Larry Hama interview, but I will say, if you check out the Needless Things podcast, Larry Hama is on one of our episodes from a few years ago. If you use the Google Needless Things, Larry Hama, Dragon Con, and you can hear a great interview with Larry Hama. But there he is, Sergeant Slaughter. Great way to close out our slideshow here. Now I will stop sharing. Did I stop sharing, you guys?
Yep.
Okay, good. And I believe that brings us... No, we've got a couple more... Oh, gosh, we do have a couple more things to talk about. Oh, geez.
You can't forget the Nerf collaboration.
I don't even want to. I didn't even take a picture of this thing. Matthew Comstock, I just subscribed. My bad. Been listening to the podcast since I met you guys at Joe Fest. No, it's totally fine. Because I do the same thing. I'll find a YouTube, like I'll watch a review or I'll watch a thing and oh, that was really cool. And then not even think about subscribing because it's this whole extra step, and YouTube pushes you on to the next video. So it's not like YouTube itself encourages you to subscribe. So I'm thrilled you did it now. It's great. We're going to get that glow in the dark. I am confident before the end of October, we will be seeing the glow in the dark tour. All right. We get a couple of fan things where I'm not going to bother talking about. We've got the Nerf gun. All right. Look, you guys, we know we're very positive here. We like to be happy about G.I. Joe. We like to be positive about the things that they talk about, at these events and stuff. So I'm going to take a vote right now. Who wants to just skip past the Nerf gun? Show of hands.
I don't have much to say about it.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. All right. And what I realized at one point was, aside from the names, nothing new was announced. So we have to address the elephant in the room, or the elephant that's not in the room, and that is the fact that nothing was said about O-rings. I'm very, very disappointed. Emily had stated a couple of months ago that at that time she couldn't say anything about O-rings, but to ask her again in a couple of months. It's been a couple of months, and they weren't even mentioned. The success of the Stinger was not mentioned. Just nothing at all. They didn't even mention the Sky Striker, did they?
No.
Yeah.
So something that I noticed during this presentation, and I'm not saying this is why they did not talk about O-ring, but at a certain point, I think we were at like the 30-minute mark, and Emily started commenting, "Oh, I have the voice in my ear telling me we're going over our time." And then she kept saying that throughout the next half hour, because they talked for almost a whole hour, if not just
they
over.
went a little over an hour.
So part of me was wondering, well, did PulseCon not budget correctly for the amount of time for everything that they had? And when you have such a product that is having such a renaissance right now, why would you not book more time to make sure that you've covered everything that needs to be covered? Because it pretty much was classifieds with that gun that shall not be mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it seems very clear to me they had no intention of addressing O-Ring at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that means. I don't know if maybe we'll get another live stream before the end of the year. You know, we've still got 3 months left in the year. But man, I as much enthusiasm as I have for that, it's concerning that they didn't even mention it. You would think at some point, you guys, I know you were hoping for some O-Ring news. Tune in the future, or next year's going to be big, but trust us. But just nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to say about that. There's really nothing to say about that.
And we've gotten all 3 of the 2-packs in hand already, and then all we've got are the vehicles, the 2 Transformer crossovers, and then the Stinger, and then the Sky Striker, and that's all that is coming at this point. And they haven't announced anything new since it's been when did the Stinger went up on sale? In June, right?
Yeah, it was right before Joe Fest.
Yeah, so that's the last time we got any news on it.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. So wait, what have we got? We've got the Hiss Tank, the Awe Striker. Is that it?
The Hiss Tank, the Awe Striker, and then of course the Stinger.
Right, but those only the 2 crossovers.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I enthusiastically support O-Ring. I want more. I want it to be a whole new collection. I'll budget for it, but we'll see what happens going forward. And when there is news, Audible Interlude will be there. Real quick, I just want to give a shout out about the Indiana Jones stuff. I am super stoked to have 6-inch Indiana Jones figures coming. Don't think, my personal opinion, I don't think a whole heck of a lot about the retro figures they're doing. I think they made a misstep by modeling them after the original Indiana Jones figures. I think they should have gone with the 5-point of articulation Star Wars Skinner style. I think that would have been a better move, but we'll see. People may not agree with me on that one. But just having Indiana Jones toys again is awesome. But that's G.I. Joe adjacent. That's not G.I. Joe. You guys, anything you want to say before we wrap this thing up? We've gone over 2 hours, having a lot of fun talking about G.I. Joe.
I mentioned earlier that I would say something about my Hasbro Pulse experience, and I made the mistake after placing this order. Let me just do a quick scan of everything I've ordered just in the past 12 months.
Oh no!
And put a dollar amount next to it.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, that was a painful thing to do. I was like,
you want to have them tracked like in a little program or something, but don't ever do the add up.
Yeah, I realized it was about a mortgage payment.
Yeah. Kristian, final thoughts about the events of today?
They are going to have to do a lot of work to top the figures that they showed today.
Yeah, we saw some really special, cool stuff today.
I am in Joe heaven.
But you know what? I'm pretty positive, because as good as the renders we got here for the first time looked, and as good as the actual sculpted ones we got, I can only imagine they're gonna continue this line of quality. Snow Serpents, I've got the best of hopes for. I mean, Ripper and Buzzer, I just cannot wait to see what they do with those in classifieds.
Yeah.
And obviously we're gonna get Torch, and we're gonna get, with as much as Lenny has dropped the name of Road Pig, he's coming.
You know it for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely getting Road Pig. Well, you guys, Kristian and Noel, and of course, everybody that was watching this and everybody that's listening next week. Thank you so much for sitting down, talking about G.I. Joe. And as always, oh, wait, you know what? Before we sign off, I've got to do follow us on Instagram at Audible Interlude Podcast. That's the best place to interact with us as well. You can shoot us messages, ideas, whatever, feedback, anything. Send us a message to that Audible Interlude Podcast Instagram account. It's the best way. Twitter, whatever. Nobody cares about Twitter. And we will definitely be looking at ways to do these live streams more frequently. Especially, like I said, if Hasbro gives us something to talk about, we will get on YouTube and talk about it. Remember to subscribe. Tell your friends about the Needless Things YouTube channel. That glow-in-the-dark tour is almost certainly coming sometime in October, which I am doing spooky toy reviews all month long. So with all that being said, Noel, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Finest?
The Finest is a G.I. Joe costume club, as you can see right here on my shirt. And obviously we have, this is a 5-year-old shirt. This is from the 10-year anniversary. We've been around now for 15 years. And of course, we raise money for a great charity called Canines for Warriors. If you're ever at a show and you see our booth, then go talk to us. Maybe if you ever thought about doing a G.I. Joe costume, we're the folks to talk to. We have a great Facebook recruitment page that you can get some tips on. So, hey, throw some money to some dogs, some rescue dogs, and some veterans.
And Kristian, why don't you tell us where we can find that figure photography that you do so well?
So you can find me on Flickr.com and Instagram under the name Legion Cub.
Well, you guys, it has been an absolute blast talking with you and to all of you. As always, Yo Joe!
Cobra.